And just like that, we are done. Man, look at that. That is so much better. What's up, guys? In this video, I'm gonna be making a custom set of spark plug wires for my 360 FE engine on my 68 F100. I just got done doing the valve covers and putting new valve cover gaskets in there. And when I was taking the spark plug wires apart, getting them out of the way, I accidentally pulled the little connector out of the boot of one of my spark plug wires. And so now that's not gonna work. I'm not a big fan of kind of the crazy routing that my wires are right now. And I wanna do something a little more compact and a little cleaner and nicer looking, like I did on my 66 Mustang, where I've got those wires routed nice and clean and bundled together, and it looks really good. So let's get started. So what I'm going to be installing are these Ford Racing spark plug wires. My box is kind of ruined, but that's okay. So what we've got in here are the boots for the distributor, and then here are the plug wires. Now, I am a big fan of these 45-degree boots that go on the spark plugs themselves. To me, it's a little easier to get these pushed on there. The ones that are straight, the wires bend all kind of funny, and the right angle 90-degree ones sometimes can be a little hard to put in. So I like these 45-degree ones. And then here's the wire for the coil. We'll set that aside. But we've got our 8 spark plug wires, and also notice that they're numbered, which is great. So when you're trying to find where the spark plug wires go, if you ever have to make any changes down the road, they're all numbered and ready to go. Now in this kit, you get these boots that go on the distributor, but these won't work with the setup that I have. These connectors use this style. It's like an HEI style where there's a connector on top and these push on there. I need more of the kind that's like these, and this is from Taylor. Here's the part number for those that need that. These fit down inside the distributor, so these are the boots that I need and the connectors I need for that. So we can set these aside and we're gonna use these. And the way I'm gonna hold them is I'm gonna use these Billet Specialties, a little spark plug wire connector holders. And what I like about these is it holds the wire nice and snug so they're not sliding and moving. But I do have one issue with these. This is actually a 1/4 screw, and the valve cover, the bolts for the hold my valve cover down are actually 5/16-18 thread. So I'm gonna have to get different fasteners. And then also inside here, I'm gonna have to drill out the bottom part here so that fastener will fit through here. Here's the fastener that I'm gonna use, and so this won't fit in there. It'll fit down inside this top part, but we gotta drill this out in the bottom here so this will fit through, and then it'll just sit like, basically like that, so that'll still work. But this will keep it nice and clean, and this is the same components that I have on my Mustang, and I really, really like these. These are a little pricey, but they're anodized aluminum, and they just look fantastic when you're done. Now before we get these all cut to length, let's go remove the spark plug wires off the engine and take a look at what we're gonna be working with over there. Now, like I said, I'm not a big fan of how this is kind of routed. You know, this could be cleaned up a little bit, but what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna have these spark plug wires just coming up right across the front of this valve cover right here, and they're gonna go right to the distributor, and it's gonna just look nice and clean, and I think it'll look a lot better than what we've got going on here. Now, because I've got one of these kind of diagrams that show the firing order of this 360 FE engine, I can go ahead and just pull all the wires off here. I don't need to worry about which ones went where, because I'll be able to follow the diagram for the new ones. Okay, I went ahead and got these all drilled out, and now this fastener fits inside there, so this is how it's gonna sit when we get it put into the valve cover, so this will be pretty good. Let's go ahead and get these installed in the valve covers, and then we'll get the wires routed in the engine bay so we can start marking the length that we need to cut these wires to. We're gonna use these 3 bolts here on the valve cover to hold these little connectors. And I've got one for the 4-wire for the front here, because all 4 wires gotta come around. I'm looking at this, and I've got a 3-wire, which will work for right here for these, for 5 or 6, 7, and 8. But the last bolt, I have a 2, and I should have bought a 1. You can buy a 1-wire connector. This will still work, but I'll put it in there and I'll just have the 1 wire going through it. Knowing what I know now, I'll just get a 4, a 3, and a 1 for this setup. All right, we got those 3 mounting points installed here on this valve cover, and we got the same ones done on the passenger side. So now we're ready to put the spark plug wires in. So when you put the first one on here, we're gonna route them so that the top wire goes to the furthest one and work our way down, and same thing up here. This is just a little bit of a kind of a learning curve to try to figure out how you wanna do this. Because I've got this 45-degree boot and this connector, or the holder right here, I'm gonna have to loop it back like this so that it fits in there, like that basically, and that will be fine. I need to have enough length so that I don't have to always pull these things out if I ever have to pull that spark plug boot off of there. And then this, again, this is number 8. spark plug number 8. So that's back number 8 back here. And then as we route it around the front here, I want to try to keep the same bend or the same radius, and so that it all looks good. And we'll have, again, when you get everything all lined up, then we'll kind of fine tune it and figure out where everything needs to go so that it all looks good and looks like we're trying hard. And then once you get everything routed, this is what it's going to look like right before we get everything cut. This thing looks so much better. The way this wraps around the front here, everything's nice and uniform, looks good. I might tweak this a little bit more just to try to find the balance of getting these things to fit right, because those spark plugs are at an angle. You know, unlike on my Mustang over here, all the spark plugs are straight, or well, they're all at the same angle, so I can have the boots facing all the same way, and it works out really good on the Mustang. But over here, you know, I'm gonna have to kind of maybe just fine tune this a little bit till I get it to where I like it, and then we'll be good. Cool, so let me finish that, and then I'll get the other side done. All right, now we got the passenger side done, and I went back and I did fix the driver's side just a little bit, just to tuck those wires in a little bit better, make it a little bit nicer. So from here, the next thing I want to do is start getting the wire lengths marked for the various parts that we have. Now, remember we've got this cheat sheet to know where wires go. This one right here is number 1. We could start there. I'm actually going to start with 8, just work my way around this way again, which is going to be, actually number 8 is right here. So this spark plug wire it's marked number 8. We're gonna go right to that spot, and we're gonna put this connector inside there to see where we need to be. Now, I don't wanna make this thing just so tight that it's stretching to reach over here. I'm gonna give it a little bit of room, kind of like that. And I don't wanna cut it right here on this edge. I actually wanna cut it just a little bit right here or so, because there's a core wire in here that I'm gonna fold backwards. And so I don't wanna cut these too short. Probably gonna cut on this Ford logo that's on here. I should get a Sharpie and mark it, but that's where I'm gonna cut that one. And you're gonna do this one at a time. So since we know that we wanna get right about like that, I just don't want these wires to be super tight right along here. Yeah, I'm gonna cut it right here in the middle of this Ford logo, right there. So that's where I'm gonna cut, and then I'll show you what we're gonna do with the crimpers. Now let's pull this wire out of here and we'll take it over to the bench. All right, so here's wire number 8, and it's starting to fade, but that's the Sharpie mark that I marked on here. This is gonna be for the coil. Here are the other 7 connectors. Now what we're gonna do I'm gonna use these MSD. These are fantastic. There's the part number of those that need that. They come with these jaws. These jaws are interchangeable if you had different crimps that you wanna do. You can use, if you have something like this, you see this W shape kind of thing with it, that will still work if you have these kind. But what I like about this is this also strips the wire and then crimps it for me all in one tool. So I do like that. Now there's no going back on this. So once you cut these, hope you're happy with it. This is a one-time deal. Okay, so now I'm gonna crimp this. See how the jaws are offset? So I wanna have just a little more than the back side of this sticking out. Something about like that. And we're gonna twist this and pull it off. Now there's the core that we're looking for. Now some people get in a hurry and they fold this backwards and they crimp it, and then they're in trouble because we need to get this boot on here. And a super secret way of doing that is using some dielectric grease. We'll just put a little bit on here. This is gonna make it super slick and easy to get this on. Don't forget to get this boot on before you do every single spark plug wire, or you're gonna be hating it because now you cut them too short. And actually, really I should have done it before I cut this core so it slides on a little easier so we don't damage that core, but we're gonna be okay, at least for this one. Again, that dielectric grease goes a long way to making this a lot easier of a job. Cool, so now we're just gonna wipe this off. The way this is gonna go is we're gonna fold this core back and we're gonna tuck it on the bottom side of this trough, or what do you wanna call it, so that it's sitting in there like that. And we're gonna crimp these guys, squeeze them just a little bit, over. And if you wanted to give yourself a little bit more core length, you could do that. And the W part, we're going to be for these 2 wings that are on here. There we go. Get that in there. And then fold this guy back. Make sure that he's on the bottom of the trough. And then you're done. And you notice how I have this, the wire just sticking past these ears. That's about right where we want it. Everything's crimped, everything's in place. And we can slide this boot back over the edge. And then what you're trying to do is get this as best you can and get this centered inside the boot. And there, that one's done. Let's go put this in the car. Alrighty, and just like that, we've got one wire installed. Again, you can fine tune this stuff a little bit. That's why another reason why we give ourselves a little bit, just an extra quarter inch or something, just so you can fine tune this routing path and make sure it looks good, and then get everything all tucked in. So that's how you do those. We're gonna repeat that step 7 more times, and then we'll do the coil. And just like that, we are done. Man, look at that, that looks so much better. Everything looks so uniform and looks like, you know, it's supposed to be that way from a factory or something like that. This is one of those kind of those builds that you look at it and you go, man, that just the wire being organized I think makes this look a lot better. Now I've got these new valve covers on here and then that new air cleaner and stuff like that. And as I continue to chip away at this stuff and make things a little bit nicer, this whole engine bay is gonna start to clean up. But just something like that with just organizing those wires, man, that looks so much better. Now I did get a little carried away with trying to anticipate maybe a little bit of flexibility with the wires in case I ever have to change the timing. I don't want these things so tight that I can't actually move the distributor for timing if I ever have to do that. And as I put things around, I don't want them to be just super tight and there's just no room for any kind of adjustments. And then also, when you're putting these on here, you have to pay attention to, for mine, I've got, you know, this is number 1, number 8, 7, 3, 6. You know, on yours, pay attention to where the wires go across, like this one right here comes across, and just kind of route things in a way so that it works out. On my other car, when I was doing that, you see how I kind of got these kind of stacked on top of each other, and then this one's tucked underneath here. I should have thought this through a little bit better when I was riding, because everything looks just kind of overlapped, and it's all nice and neat, but I just think that I could have done a better job with this one when I was doing this, and just make sure the routing, you know, was nice and smooth. You know, so something like this just looks a lot better. There's a little bit of extra wire that I don't need right here, but you know, I can't shorten that, so that's what it is. But other than that, I think this looks really, really good. Oh, I'm pumped. So guys, that's it. You know, just remember, get yourself one of these diagrams for your wiring routing. I know there's different, you know, like I have on that engine, because I have the cam that I have in there, I have the Windsor firing order. So I have to pay attention to that one. With this one, just make sure you look up your engine and get the right one so that you can put the wires in the right spot. And then this MSD tool, this thing is fantastic. It's a little pricey up front, but now that I've done a couple sets of these wires, it's starting to kind of pay itself off, right? And, you know, I think you can rent these at auto parts stores, I think sometimes. And there's cheaper versions. You don't have to get this MSD one, but this thing sure is really nice. And then the last secret is this dielectric grease on here. This is something that makes it easy for sliding those boots on the wires, because it's a lot of work. And then I actually put just a tiny little bit inside these little wire holders, so those wires just push right in and they just stay right there, which on my other car, because of the diameter of the wire and diameter of the holder, they just aren't perfect, and so you have to really reef them in there. And so just a tiny little bit of this lubes it up and gets it done. So cool. All right, guys. Man, this looks so much better. This is something, again, one of these things I should have done a while ago is I was jazzing up this engine bay and making it nice. This really looks the part, and it looks so much cleaner, and I think you guys can do this. This is something that, you know, you buy those wires. I've got all the part numbers down below in the description below, but you can buy this stuff and do these wires yourself. It's very easy. You saw how I did it. Just take your time. The only thing that I spent the most time on was just routing the wires and just making sure it looked really nice before I marked the length and cut them. So cool. All right, guys, I think you can do this. And yeah, awesome. We'll see you in the next one.